Hey everybody, this is Tony, and I'm here today with a special guest, none other than the actress, a singer, host, author, a woman who really does it all, Miss
Oh,
LaRita Shelby.
you didn't hear that door slam, did you? I'm sorry. You heard the door slam?
I heard it, but it's all right.
All right, okay. This is my life right now, but okay.
It's all right. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Miss LaRita Shelby, aka Miss Jazzy Rita. How you doing today?
Hi, good. That was my banker leaving this morning. I'm making so much money. He had to come by, drop off and now the phone is ringing. My phone hasn't rung, and I'm going to turn it down so it won't be a bill collector.
Oh
Okay,
man.
okay. What the heck? Hi. We're on live. Yes,
Oh man. But how you doing though?
I'm doing great.
Good, good. Oh goodness. No, I love that stuff though. It's cool. It's cool. It's life. It happens.
It does, and I apologize. I guess I'm in just whatever mood I'm in today. Truly, I have joy in my spirit and my soul,
Yeah.
and I am so grateful for you being who you are. I didn't know much about you when you sent me the invitation, and I'm like, this dude has been doing it. So congratulations. I'm gonna act like I got some sense of the matters now. I don't know if the door gonna slam again. I don't know if the phone's gonna ring. I just don't know. But I'm here. Praise the Lord.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. But yeah, I listen, I'm trying. That's all I can do is try. And we're all human, and like I said, it happens. And the people that I talk to because I want to talk to them, and because they actually, have done something that I have interest in, or great works, and people that I actually like and I feel like are genuine people, and therefore we are here now.
Thank you so much. So much.
No problem, no problem. How have you been doing during the midst of this whole pandemic and everything though? How did you get through?
Whoa, well, that's a very, very good question. So, in the beginning of the pandemic, I was actually happy. But let me qualify that. Not happy for those who lost their lives, not happy for those who were really encumbered with great grief and trouble and sacrifice. What did make me happy is that I felt like the world needed to just take a break anyway,
Yeah, yeah.
to slow down, to reevaluate, to be more gracious,
Mm-hmm.
more humane to one another. So we know all the bad things that did happen,
Right.
losses of life and some people lost livelihoods and others. But let's look at the flip side.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what we did do. Okay. We saw the impossible happen. We saw
Absolutely.
streets clean and clear. We saw calm come over the earth. And I feel that when we reset to normal, because I'm a spiritual being having a human experience, and
Yeah.
I don't take myself too seriously. And I guess I've always been somewhat of a philosopher my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
When life was normal, what do we do? Race and speed past one another, walk past your neighbor, may or may not even say hello.
That's
You
right.
know, some don't give a doggone about anybody but themselves.
Yeah.
But set us down as planet Earth. We had to communicate with some people that we live with.
That's right.
Some ended up stronger and better, and some were like, "Oh no, it is this what happened?" Ooh, so it was a time for reevaluation. And in many cases, we did learn to work together. We did learn to follow some rules. You
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
know, you know, you remember being in the grocery store and somebody would just be right up on top of you, pushing their cart. So
Yeah.
anyway, that's the shortest version I can give you. But that was the initial joy. As time went on, I did get a little frustrated. I found ways to keep myself busy, as we all did. We immediately adapted to communicating virtually, performing virtually. I actually took up a hobby that I learned from my auntie when I was 9, crocheting. So I was crocheting
Oh
hats.
yeah. That's nice though. That's nice. I'm glad, a lot of people well, things happen differently for almost everybody, and I'm just glad to be able to talk to people that, went through the experience and had good experiences, because we all saw the devastation that happened in the world, with people losing lives and everything. So speaking of that, though, you created some new music that I want to talk about during the
Oh
pandemic.
my gosh. You
Yeah,
like you actually heard it?
I actually heard it. The
Oh,
best of me. I listen. I love that one. I watched the video for it too, and it was just like, it was simple, but it made sense, and it was like, okay, this goes with what's happening. So I really loved that. I was singing it earlier, so
oh,
I
thank
loved it.
you.
I loved
And
it.
thanks to my musical partner, my musical husband is Willie Daniels.
Okay.
And we wrote that song at least 10 years ago for the movie Kings of the Evening, which is a great film. If you can find it, Kings of the Evening, starring Tyson Beckford, Glenn Turman, Lenara Washington, Reginald Dorsey, and oh my gosh, this I'm forgetting the other amazing actress's name. I'm gonna tell it to you 10 minutes from now when it comes to me.
That's all right.
Uh,
It happens.
but it's a phenomenal film. So we wrote that song, but there had never been a video for it. And so during the pandemic, I'm like, Willie, get a camera. I had some cousins who were in town. I said, y'all meet me in the park. Everybody's marching for Black Lives Matter, so ain't nobody gonna bother us. We're gonna be
That's
filming.
right.
Oh, and they got no permit, and they let us film it. And so here's an interesting story. The couple in that video,
Mhm.
my cousins Connie and Sam Harris, they were actually vacationing in Florida in the hotel next to the building that collapsed.
Mm.
Yeah, so thank God they're okay, and prayers up for everybody who suffered loss.
Yeah, yeah. Somebody, I'm down here in Miami too.
You
Um, yeah, yeah, but I don't stay near that area. I'm probably like 30 minutes out from there. But yeah, it was definitely crazy. Especially to see that, and it's like, wow, okay.
Yeah, yeah. So I put the song out. I says, the song was written for period piece, but it can certainly apply today. So thank you
Yeah.
for listening and appreciating the music. That means so much.
Yeah, I really didn't know how much I liked jazz music because I wasn't an avid listener like that. I would hear like a song here or there. When you go watch a movie or something, and they talk about Ella Fitzgerald or somebody like that, or you just have a one-off artist that you're going to listen to sometimes. But I was started to listen to it more because, well, I don't know if you know, but I had Frida Payne on here not too long ago, and she just did a new jazz EP, and she does jazz music since forever.
Yeah,
So
she's phenomenal.
it me to start going to listen to some of that stuff, and I was like, okay. But you, I knew of from the movie South Central, and then I had to do my homework because I was like, okay, well, I'm sure she's done other stuff. So I happened to stumble across that music, and I was like, wow, okay. So this is different. And the song Standing Strong, too, I really love that.
Oh,
I know
thank
it's
you.
supposed to be a tribute to our ancestors. And I really love that song. Where did you get that, concept from?
Oh, so you're gonna make me cry this morning. You're gonna see, you're gonna get but I got my tissue right here.
Okay,
Everything else
okay.
is on the other side of this camera. But um when it comes to my writing, it's really like taking dictation, whether I'm writing books, plays, music. And I pay homage to my mother. My mother was a musician. My songwriting partner, Willie Daniels, his mother was a musician. But I
Mm,
was walking along the LA River Basin in Studio City in 2008.
okay.
And President Obama was in office at that time. And I was thinking of my life and privileged, the life I have been privileged to live. And I just thought about all my ancestors, and I just heard the words, I am standing on the backs and shoulders of the ones who come before me. Now we hear people say it all the time,
Right.
but it had not been said in song. So the words just came. standing on the backs and shoulders of the ones who've come before me. I am shining from the glow of fallen stars. I am thriving from the remnant pieces of raw determination. Think of
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm standing proud, standing strong.
Yeah.
So, as an independent artist and a multi hyphenate, there's more to just putting out music and putting the music out there. And, if it goes viral by itself, goody for you. But if not, there's a lot of work involved. So it was several years later before the video was complete, thanks to my colleagues in Memphis, Tennessee, and my choreographer and best friend, Cerise Johns. And so when it came to the video, I said, I don't just want to make it about me and my
Mm-hmm.
personal experience. I want to include the families of some of the people that I know, and let the whole video be representative of where we've come as a people. So thank you. Um, Please keep sharing it. I have appealed to various organizations to make it one of their banner songs. It hasn't
Yeah.
happened yet, but I'm still in the trenches. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, I definitely hope so because listening to that song, it was like, wow, just like you said, it's never been put into a song. Even we talked about this before on here with Phyllis Yvonne Stickney, the actress, and she's very, very about that kind of stuff. So just hearing that in your song and hearing your emotion in it and hearing how you delivered it, it was just like, wow, okay, so it really made the song something different because anybody could say that. Anybody could probably do the song, but the way that you gave your, rendition of it, it was just like, wow. So I was just thankful for that because we all, sometimes forget. We sometimes forget, and too much and too often that we forget who paved the way or who brought us here or who got us here or because we all just wake up and we're like, oh, we're working so hard and we're trying to get here and but at the end of the day somebody made it possible for somebody else to even open that door for you to get there, and
Yes,
we forget
we
that.
complain so much. So, and again, kudos to Willie Daniels. I could not have done it without him because my mother played the piano. I
Hmm.
studied various instruments, but y'all don't want to hear me play nothing. You don't want to do that. And but Willie was willing to sacrifice himself so that my vision could come to fruition through him. And Willie plays like he is the cat sitting at the gig in my head.
Mm.
And with that, we are also coupled with a phenomenal producer, Michael Wells, Wishing Wells Studios, among many others. But I just had to say that um, because it's a team effort. But thank you so much.
Yeah, yeah. I love it though. And not that you're just putting out, one kind of thing, even though it might be jazz music, but you're not just putting out one kind of subject matter or, it's not like the blues or something, but it's different things that make sense. And it's real things that make sense. I even seen you do the single Goodbye 2020. I love that one as well. I was like, wow, okay, this makes sense. Goodbye,
Yeah,
right?
Goodbye 2020. So for that one, I called on an old songwriting partner, Eddie Miller,
Mhm.
and that one is bittersweet because I cannot understand why a song that was just so relevant for the world still, didn't go farther. I did the
Yeah.
best that I could as let me introduce everybody to the record company. Y'all say hi. Hey y'all, we on TV, we on Zoom. Hi, this is the whole record company. And even having come from radio, sadly, I must admit that radio is still very political,
Yes.
still money oriented sometimes. But but be it as it may, I hope that those who did hear the song were blessed by it and encouraged to put that year behind us.
Mm-hmm.
And I look forward to what's ahead. So thank you for every song you've taken a few moments to listen to and enjoy. Thank you, because sometimes you can't even get the support of people in your own family. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, that's
you know,
true.
I was taught that charity begins at home. So thank you for being now part of our musical family.
Yeah, yeah. Listen, I understand the severity of trying to get something put out and trying to get something done and being independent. I do this all on my own. There is no team. This is the team.
Y'all.
So I understand completely, especially when you have people that say, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna do this. Oh, I'm right behind you," and they're not really there. And you still have to work at the end of the day. You still have to put things out. You still have to be current. You still have to, go through all this promotion and different stuff like that. So I get it.
Right.
Um, I think people think I do something special, like even people that I know from school or my family members or whatever. But these people that I talk to, yeah, they might have been stars or are stars, but they're regular people, and I didn't do anything special. I didn't pay them or
Mhm.
anything like that to get them on here, but we have a good time and I'm thankful for that. Like I said, which is why I call on people like you to share your stories, to promote yourselves, because everybody might not do that. And we all can't be Wendy, so we gotta uplift our own.
You know what? You just spoke a word right there. I'm just gonna have a moment of silence for that word you spoke right there. Thank you for being in the business of uplifting us,
Yes. Yes.
uplifting one another. Lynn Whitfield, I told you I was gonna tell you that name 10 minutes later. Didn't I
There you
tell you?
go.
10 minutes later, I'm gonna tell you the name of that actress. See, I'm a lady of my word. So anyway, back to our story. No, but thank you so much. Um, and let me just say this:
Hmm.
we, as a body of artists, appreciate you, people like you, who have the vision to do your own shows and podcasts and radio shows, who remember us. Because can I break it down to you? Let me break it down to
Go
you.
ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I'm going to say something that has never been said nationally before. I've said to my friends,
Okay.
ready?
Go ahead.
I'm a pseudo celebrity. Okay. I'm a pseudo celebrity. That means that I have some credits a few years ago. I'm working
Hmm.
on some credits in the future, but but I have a body of work that I appreciate, but I'm still very much in the trenches of continuing to acquire work and finances and projects and to be what we call quote unquote relevant.
Right.
Okay. There are still, some producers or directors I can't get on the phone. There's still some projects that I would love to work on,
Hmm.
qualified to star in, be in. They may not be checking for me. I'm a pseudo celebrity. So people like you who are special and gifted enough to honor those who are at various stages in their career, I'm going to say for all of us, thank you. Because in
Yeah.
some settings, if you don't have something out of the box office right now, they don't want to talk to you.
Hmm.
If you have 15 Grammys and 14 Emmys and 35 Image Awards, they're not checking for you.
That's
So
right.
thank you, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. But I believe that's important. I just did an interview yesterday with an artist who's up and coming. But he started his career late in his life. So he's up, I don't think he's that old, but he's past his 40s, I'll say that. And we were talking about that. And I told him, and I said, I would hate for somebody to put an age on something that I love to do. Right? Who are you to tell me I'm too old to do something or I'm too anything to do anything that I love or that I feel is my purpose, And the artists, the actresses, the actors, the comedians, the whoever's that come on here are genuine and people that I really like, for one. But for two, it's not up to me to say it's over for you because you don't have something current. I'm still watching your old, stuff, so it's all right for me.
Thank you.
you know?
It does live on. And another confession. Da, 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 da. So you see that book over my shoulder? That's a book on my father's side, a true and miraculous story of a father, a daughter, and their 40-year journey to reunite. That is
Hmm.
my story that I've written as a book, and for the last couple of years have been in the processes of everything that's required to bring it to eventually get it to a feature film.
Okay.
That being said, There were three beloved performers that I had written down on my wish list that
Mm-hmm.
are no longer here. They didn't know that I had them in mind. My point is sometimes when it comes to our legendary actors and actresses, not the Sam Jacksons and the Denzels and the Loretta Devines who just turn over work all the time.
Yeah.
I'm talking about those that we still remember from when they started something back in the day. Now
Yeah.
that I am in my midlife here, I understand that for many of them, they may not have wanted to have a stopping point. That the only reason we were talking about what they did 20 years ago or 10 years ago is that Hollywood or the powers that be never allowed them back in,
Yeah.
never kept that work coming. So as I move forward and move into more writing and producing and maybe even directing, I want to do my very, very best to remember those talented artisans who are somewhere in the middle. And the three people that I had in mind to play a role in on my father's side now are the late Diane Carroll,
Wow.
the late Janae Dubois, the late
Wow.
Mary Wilson. And
Wow.
in each case, if you think of Diane Carroll, you would think of old Claudine
Yeah. Yeah.
Julia, okay?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
For Janae Dubois, you would think of Good Times,
Good times. Yep.
or maybe I'm gonna get you, sucker. And
Yep.
for Mary Wilson, you would think of what? The Supremes.
Supremes. Yeah.
Now, why is that? Yes, they made history. Yes, they deserve to be remembered for the
Mm-hmm.
roles that they played. But come on, if that's all we're talking about, that means that somewhere along the line, we didn't allow them to continue to work and to bloom. And now that I am in these trenches, I thank God that I played OG Bobby Johnson's girl
That's right.
South Central. I thank God that the movie had such a message that it has withstood the test of time.
Yeah.
But my hope and my prayer is that 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, the bookmark won't end there because I will continue to play great roles. In the past several years, it hasn't been easy.
Yeah.
I have agents who still believe in me, Raphael Burko and the team in Media Artist Group. So that is my passionate plea, my clarion call, and it's that I want to commit myself to being a part of making it better.
Yeah, absolutely. And you will, I'm sure of it. People don't really realize, or the general public, I would say, don't really realize that just because you get put in a motion picture doesn't make you a star. And a lot of people are an example of that because you can go on a sitcom and be a regular, and next thing you know, it's over. For a lot of people, which is why we sit up and now have unsungs, which I love. Don't get me wrong, I love unsung, but that's the reason that that show is there, because we have people like Janae Dubois who was on Good Times, and then it's like, oh, okay, so we only know her as Walona, She was on I'm Gonna Get You Sucker, but you didn't have a lot of roles after that because now it's like, okay, she's Walona, so what?
Yeah,
So we always have people that get stuck in that kind of realm, and our own people don't say, hey, let me reach back and grab such and such because I'm here now. Let me call such and such for my project because I'm here now. And it's unfortunate, but I really wish that we would start doing those things because everybody won't be up all the time.
yeah.
It will
To be
come
fair,
down.
yeah, there are some. There are some that have the Wayans brothers, the Robert Towns.
Right.
There are some that have, and I every time I see Garrett Morris,
Oh
I'm
yeah.
old enough to remember when he was on Saturday Night Live, and it is a blessing that Hollywood has continued to allow him to work. But there's so much talent, and I appreciate you for having the heart for others, as do I, to just kind of open that pipeline as much as possible.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of South Central, though, what did that movie mean for you when you first did the role, and does it mean something different for you now?
Ooh. Do you want the Hollywood answer? Or do you want the real tea?
No, give me the real one. Give me the
Let
real
me drink some water, baby. Let me drink some water, baby.
one.
Okay. How much time do we have?
However
How
much
much?
you need.
Okay. Okay. I'm just, you know what? I'm about truth. And
Okay.
the spirit spoke to me about a week or so ago. And this is, may truth bring you a greater reward than any lie you've ever told. Now, I've
Mm-hmm.
never told any lie relative to South Central, but it's possible that I hadn't shared my whole truth. And
Okay.
here's the whole truth. We as African American actors and actresses appreciate all of those who came before us.
Yes.
And in the entertainment industry, as we know, the storytelling in Hollywood in many cases has evolved in eras.
Yeah.
Okay, there was the silent film era, there was the musical era, there was the black exploitation era,
Mm-hmm.
there
Mm-hmm.
or various eras. So when I was a very young girl, I have my degree. One of them pieces of paper back there is a degree in theater and communication. So by God's grace, I was classically trained in
Mm-hmm.
theater, classically trained in music. Grew up in high school. My one of my instructors is world renowned, singing Latin. Okay, you know, speaking French, singing Latin. However, in order to work in Hollywood in those days, there was an era. There was a lot of sitcoms, a lot of energy, but the I don't mean to offend anyone, but there was an era in Hollywood when there was quite an appetite for stories that told the making movies that told the urban stories,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
aka the hood movies, the hood
Yeah.
movies. And so created a lot of wonderful opportunities for writers, actors, directors that personally was not my story. I'm unapologetically black and very proud that wasn't a story that I was akin to. Me growing up talking like this and I don't know, no, I would have been dead in my
Right.
house.
Right.
It was like that. I did not talk. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
uh, I had to learn, learn that swag, learn
Yeah.
that street swag in order to work. And I mentioned Robert Townsend. He kind of talks about that in the movie Hollywood Sucker.
Yeah.
And around those times, going to auditions and having the casting director saying, "Okay, um, could you do it again? And could you like, be more black? Can you like, um, they say this to you, can you do like, that neck thing?" So, yes. So bottom line is that that movie gave me a wonderful opportunity to immerse myself in a story and a part of our culture that I didn't have firsthand experience with.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now, a little known fact, some people know this, but not everybody knows it. South Central wasn't just a movie where some filmmakers said, let's just do a formula. Let's just kind of emulate everything that's going wrong in these neighborhoods and make up a story and make a movie about it and go make some money. That's not where that story came from. That story evolved from an African American instructor at a high school in South Central that was tired of seeing his students die by the 10s and 20s and 30s every year,
Mm.
every year. And he wrote the book Crips. The book Crips became the movie South Central. And in it, he shared the knit and the grit, but he shared a great love for his people. And he also provided a solution to that which ills the community. So
Right.
with Bobby Johnson, he met with the truth inside of that jail cell that says, man, get to know thyself, get
Mm-hmm.
to know thy creator, learn who you really are, and break free mentally and spiritually from this institution so that you can not only liberate yourself, but go back into these streets and save your own child.
That's right. That's right.
That's why I said yes to that. Now, for the record, I love mindless humor. You know, sometimes funny is just funny. I
Right.
love all my people, so don't come for me with nothing negative because you will be what talking to the hand. I'm just telling my story.
No, but that's it's really something to, be told, honestly. Because during that time we've seen a lot of movies come out like that, from Boys in the Hood to Menace to Society and South Central among those, and some people, might look at those and say, this is a negative depiction of black people, but it really was somebody's story, regardless of how we feel about it. It really is somebody's story. Um, Even if we didn't live it.
Yes, you're right. And when it came to playing the role that I did, fortunately, I had never known that woman.
Mm,
But what I wanted to do was not just do a caricature of her, I wanted to put great empathy within her to see a woman doing the best she could with what was around her. That you'd see her and feel her as a real person, as flawed as she was. So
yeah.
that was my attempt.
Yeah, but I mean, you did a good job, because honestly, I wouldn't have known that that wasn't, something you seen or grew up or was, which is the beauty of being an actor, because you step into things like that. You might be a crackhead, you never been a crackhead, or whatever the case, or a drunk, or however it might come. But that's the beauty of it, to be able
Yes,
to
sir.
display that and to convey that to people who never seen it or probably have saw it. And if you're believable to somebody who's seen that, you done your job.
You know what? Tony, I think I was at a church somewhere,
Hmm.
and this woman came up to me and she grabbed my hand and she said, "Thank you. I was that woman."
Wow.
And again, it nearly brought me to tears. And as time goes on, you're young, you're dumb. Sometimes,
Right.
oh, you think you're wise, but you add a few more years to that, you're like, wow.
Hmm.
Now I have so much more empathy and compassion for those who walk that road because that was the only road.
Yeah.
Wow, man. So and for fans of South Central who still recognize us and give us love, thank you. We were the original Conda forever. So thank you so much.
Yes, yes.
And that
But
was really sweet. There's another, I'm not going to name any names, but there was a director who was out around that time. And I, oh man, I so admired him and I would have loved to have worked um, on anything that he did. And I attempted to introduce myself to him and he jumped back. He was very nasty. And it's almost as though he had a judgment against me because I started South Central. I had never met the man before. And he just walked away, you know.
wow.
Yep, yep.
Yeah, it's
Right.
crazy. It's crazy. Some of these people can be like that. And I think sometimes we get hooked up on seeing somebody somewhere, or something, and we're like, oh my God, they're so nice and they seem so cool, and you meet some of those people and it's like, no,
Right.
that's an act.
Right. Yeah.
But seriously, thank you, for that depiction. Thank you for taking that role, because like I said, you walked and you gave a depiction of somebody who might have been that person, just like that lady told you. Although, like I said, some might see it as negative, those kind of movies, but like I said, it's somebody's story, and it has to be told either way. It has
Yes,
to.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. And may I also mention, um, which is also in my book, On My Father's Side, a true miraculous story of a father and a daughter who uh, reunite after 40 years. In that book, On My Father's Side, I tell the story of when I first came to Hollywood, and I was blessed to have phenomenal mentors, African American men,
Mhm.
young men who stood for something.
Right.
They did not violate me. They taught me. they protected me, they guided me. And those men are Reginald T. Dorsey and Stogie Kenyatta. Those
Hmm.
were the first two. Others came along. And so I would always talk to my big brother about or in Stogie, any major decision. And I said, well, what should I do? Of course, back then, I want to play Harriet Tubman and Mary McLeod Bethune. I want to play Madam C.J. Walker and all that. But those weren't the roles. And my brother Reggie said, he says, go for quantity and not just quality. And he said, just look at the whole piece. Does the piece glorify the negatives, or are you playing a role that's part of telling a story to create a larger message?
Hmm.
A
Hmm.
message. And so in that case, it makes sense. Now, I probably did some things that hurt my career after that. As a matter of fact, obviously I did, because but I don't regret it. I turned down several roles or opportunities to be in other similar types of projects because it was I'm not saying any names. I can say it's foolishness, so I'm not going to say what they were, but it just wasn't something I wanted to do. It could have helped to create the momentum at the time, but I wanted to look at a body of work that I could be proud of. And
Yeah, yeah. And then you don't want to get stuck in that label category of, you can only be a prostitute, or you can only be this, or you can, because that's what people start to see you as if you start doing too many roles that look similar. So,
yeah, yeah, and that was just my choice. God bless anybody who chose differently. And I didn't name any names. I didn't name any projects that I'm talking about. But and part of it, yeah, acting is you're not just playing you. Every role you play isn't going to be, the pillar of the community and a figure in history.
right.
But starting out so young, I was selected, and thanks to my agents, Raphael Burkle and Media Artists Group, I did get an opportunity to work on some phenomenal projects and television shows. Different World, What's
Hmm.
Happening Now, Martin. Did a movie with Russell Crowe before he was Russell Crowe.
All right.
Got a small role on ER. So nowadays, I am in the trenches to continue building on those credits, and I've got some writing and producing projects that are getting pretty close to being done.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. We need people like you back on the screens, and doing what we love to see. And don't get me wrong, because you're doing the singing too, so we love to hear that. Don't get me wrong. But from South Central, like you said, you turned down some roles. But what happened? What happened during the '90s for you? And career wise, after that, where did you go? Did you start singing after that immediately? Did you take a break? What happened?
Okay, got it. So the '90s, that's a good one. That's a good one. Music has been a part of my life my entire life. During parts of my life and my career, unfortunately, music would just kind of fade to the back burner, but it was
Hmm.
never completely gone. Um, but while I was on television and in movies, I was an international radio broadcaster on the
Okay.
Armed Forces Network. So throughout the '90s, I was on air in 57 countries. I was international before some of the syndicated hosts were syndicated nationally. But I was very, low key about it. It was a pleasure to serve my country as an independent contractor, civilian broadcaster. So I was part of hip hop music and urban music being played around the globe, literally in the '90s. So it was a
Mm.
blessing to do that in tandem. And another thing that I did that not many people knew about, I was on the Tom Joyner Morning Show for 15 years as part of the soap opera It's Your World. So
Wow.
when Tom did the radio drama, I played two of the very popular characters on that show, Nikki T and Pookie. Pookie was
Okay.
really, really super country, and hilarious. So that's what I was doing in the '90s, just and enjoying myself, hoping and wishing and looking for love, desiring to be a wife and a mama while being a career person. And the end of the '90s, that happened too. So.
You know what? I was something I just thought about too. With films like South Central, Menace to Society, and all those, like the Wayans brothers would spoof those on like "Don't be a menace to South Central while drinking your juice in the hood." Did any of that stuff ever bother you to see something like that, or was it just comedy for you?
Oh yeah, see that was just comedy. That was
Okay.
just comedy. It didn't bother me at all. I did get to be on the Wayans Brothers show for one episode.
Mm.
I wanted to work. I wanted to work more. If it was mindless comedy that just wasn't offensive, then sure, but I was selective. But no, I celebrate the Wayans fam. Excuse me. I celebrate the Wayans family and what they've done. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, yeah. Because some people might, take it out of context. It's funny to me when I watch it. Don't get me wrong, but for somebody who's trying to display a message in a movie, it might be like, "How dare you, take this off of my movie?"
Yeah. Well, I have a sensitivity that's just maybe an unfair sensitivity that we feel sometimes as people of color.
Mm.
We step outside of ourselves and imagine how other cultures are looking at us.
Yeah.
And remember earlier when I spoke about there being eras in Hollywood. So
Hmm.
throughout the various eras, there's been social commentary centered around those eras. For example, during the Black exploitation period, there was one section of the culture that said, wow, this is great. We're telling our stories. African American people are working. Then
Hmm.
another section of the culture was like, this is offensive. It's pimps and players and hoes. And this is not, we're fighting to be seen as educated, as sophisticated, as equal players in American society and get these images. So there's just been a conflux of ideas and attitudes that even center the artistic community.
Yeah.
So my sensibilities were certainly peppered by that, especially having grown up in Washington, D.C. I was a little girl in D.C., like back in the 70s, little girl. Yes, I said in the 70s. So, I'm 33 now, right?
That's right.
So, DC was like woke before woke was a thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, anytime I grappled with what type of role I would want to do, it was because I was just steeped in this consciousness that always reminded me to challenge me to be mindful of how I represent myself, because inadvertently I may be representing my entire culture
Hmm.
to an outside body who will only understand us through what they see about us.
Yeah.
Out to
Yeah.
the people, I know that was a
That's right. No, but that's so true. A lot of people don't understand, or I won't say a lot of people, but some people don't understand that you're representing somebody much more than yourself. And we have arguments in the world right now today about women getting equal pay and things like that. But people don't understand that what you accept, they look at me to accept later. So you have to realize like, hey, this is not just about me. Whatever I'm taking, somebody else is taking, and whatever I demand and ask for, somebody else is going to get too. So when you just settle for anything, it's like, okay, well, I can give everybody anything, or I can give all these kind of people anything.
Yeah. Well, I think now we've come to the point where anything goes.
That,
I think that threshold has been crossed now in in a positive sense that in a positive sense, people who are unapologetically who they are will find their audience. I have a saying that every tribe has its culture, every culture has its tribe. And
mhm.
now, as with the world being opened up through digital media, through music, um, there's less judgment on most things. So if it works for you, if it floats your boat, then do that and follow that. So
Yeah, yeah. I think things have definitely changed tremendously. Don't get me wrong, especially from the '90s. They have changed tremendously in good ways and in bad ways. But I think the freedom to be able to do things has definitely created more avenues and more ways for people of color and people, period, to do what they want to do. And even in films and movies and TV, and even in music, as you see with the videos and everything else now, because we used to have to watch BET late night to see some of these videos, and it wasn't on the regular station, you know?
Right.
So it really has changed tremendously. But for you, what has been the greatest, accomplishment in your career?
Oh, wow. Okay. So one, two things come to mind. But before I get to those two, I also want to say thank you for a long time affiliation with Lee Bailey from Radioscope to
Mm-hmm.
EURweb.com, because you mentioned earlier about, yeah, there was a time when we had to wait to see people who look like us on BET, but there was also a time when you didn't hear news, entertainment news about people who looked like us everywhere. And Lee Bailey, through Radioscope, the syndicated
Mm-hmm.
program, and then EURweb.com, I'm still affiliated, that helped to keep news of us um, in the main in the cycle, and then in the mainstream. So the two greatest things are these, and I can very quickly tell you what they were. When I was on the air for Armed Forces Radio, I was on air during Desert Storm, which meant that my radio shows were heard in Kuwait and Afghanistan, and I was at a autograph session in Tokyo
Mm-hmm.
in the 90s. And there was an African American soldier who was kind of standing to the back of the room. So after everything was over, he came up and he was very shy. And I was like, well, hi, do you want an autograph? He's like, no, no, no. I was like, okay, well, I can sign a picture. He was like, no. And he said, I just want to thank you for what you've done. And I'm like, wait a minute, no, you're thanking me like you got the fatigues on. He says, no, no. He says, you have no idea what you've done. He says, when we were in Saudi Arabia during Desert Storm, me and my boys would skip dinner and rush back to the tent to hear your show on the radio. You were all that we had that connected us to home. So
Wow.
to hear that from someone whose life could have been taken at any moment, just being on the radio, making the show great, making it feel good music, that's number one.
Mm-hmm.
And the second has to do with something else that little few people know that I do. For almost 10 years now, I've conducted a drama therapy group at a level 14 lockdown psychiatric facility for teens.
Mm.
So many times I'll be back there on the ward. My kids are psychologically and mentally disturbed.
Mm-hmm.
And many times I say, well, Lord, I wish I were on a Hollywood set somewhere on doing this movie or that movie. But the spirit was like, yeah, but if you were there, then I couldn't be using you here
That's
right
right.
now.
That's right.
So I was doing an activity. And just because I'm at the mental hospital, I'm just as kooky and animated and silly and all over the place. I'll do whatever I can to get the kids to engage. So there was a young man. I'll give him a fake name. Let's just say his name is Steve.
Mm-hmm.
And he'd been coming to group and he wouldn't say anything to anybody. So we were doing an improv. I'm like, come on, Steve. And the staff was like, no, no, he doesn't talk. And he doesn't speak English. And I'm like, Steve, come on now, get on up here. Steve. Come on, Steve. So I forgot what the lesson was. The staff said, no, Miss LaRita, he doesn't talk and he doesn't speak English. So I kept on. That young man stood up. He picked up the script and he delivered. And they were stunned. And they said, he's been here for 3 months. This is the first time we've heard him speak.
Wow.
So, yes, Lord knows I want the Oscar. Yes, I want an Emmy. Yes, I want a Grammy. I want to keep doing all those things. Yes, I like to play some of the roles that Viola Davis and Angela Bassett have done. Just, can I get one? I'm kidding. Because those are my beautiful sisters. Um, but I am reminded that the some spirit said something to me when I was thinking about my music one day. And I just hear the voice, and the spirit says, "Hey, hey, 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 I hear the tuba as well as the piccolo and everything in between." So
That's
I'm
right.
somewhere in between right now. That's my
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Excuse me. I don't think people, and one of the reasons that I called you here today, because people don't know when they don't see you, it's like out of mind, out of sight. Out of sight, out of mind, or whichever way you want to put it. But they just see you once here or once there, and they're like, "Oh, she disappeared. Oh, she's not doing anything. Oh, she's." But I ask the questions the way that I ask them because I want you to explain what's been going on and what you're doing. It's not that I don't know, but I ask that on purpose because I want people to know the things that you have actually been doing, even if it's not something in front of the camera or in front of the mic. And so those are the things that I want people to realize, that you don't always have to be seen on every big movie or every song or whatever it might be to be relevant, or to be working even. So that's something just just really to be praised. Your work with those children will mean so much to them in this lifetime, probably much more than those movies mean to us, or the song or whatever it might be. It matters.
Well, thank you. And again, I wouldn't be here today without you, stepping out and staying out on faith with your vision. And kudos to all the other wonderful people you've interviewed. And I also get to work with people on the business and professional level. I went back to school a few years ago and I got my master's in media and communication psychology with a concentration in media leadership.
Hmm.
Summa cum laude. But anyway, I'm kidding. Um, but over the years and being in the radio and TV and film, I would also have people approach me who were about to write their first book, or who were launching a product, or who were starting a community organization. They'd never been on television, they'd never been on the radio, they'd never had a press release written about them. They didn't know what to say, they didn't know how to present. And let me tell you, look at my God, look at my God, look at my God. I found almost as much joy in helping them as I get when I'm on the stage or out front myself. It has been a great blessing to help business people cultivate their story, because
Yeah,
a commercial is a story, a website is a story.
that's right.
Setting up your products and selling your services at a trade show, that's a presentation. It's a miniature production. So
Hmm.
I told my business story in the book, The Brand Beside the Brand. 10 reasons to step from behind and stand beside the brand. So those are the bookends: business, entertainment, education, and the arts. And again, counting all things as joy, didn't say all things were joyful, as my
That's
late
right.
pastor Fred Price would say, but counting all things as joy. So when I wasn't, on these TV shows and movies, in between that, I was discovering ways to tell different stories, ways
Hmm.
to actualize different skills and talents of my own for the purposes of helping others do the same.
Yes, yes. Doing good work in this world, and
Yeah,
doing God's work in this world, honestly, because that's what it is.
that's right.
Um,
That's right.
you really have done just about everything there is to do. From the singing, from the acting, from being an author, from being a broadcaster, and even now working with these children. um, what in you makes you go after all these things just to keep going and keep conquering them? instead of just saying, hey, I'm just going to act, I'm just going to stay over here, or I'm just going to sing, I'm just going to stay over here, or what makes you go in all these different areas and avenues and keep going at them and being successful?
Well, I kind of intimated earlier about, what my story was and what my story wasn't. Well, let me tell you what my story was. My mother and her sisters and brother, I mean, these people were born, they're all gone now. They were born in the 20s and 1930s. I never heard chant. In
That's
my
right.
family, let me tell you, out of whatever was going on in this world against Black people, and stuff was going on, it was not the dominant conversation in my house.
Mm-hmm.
In any household that I lived, I was taught that Jesus is Lord. I was taught if God before you, who can
Who
be
be against
against
you?
you? I
That's
was
right.
taught reach for the moon. If you miss, you'll land upon the stars. I'm probably gonna mess this up, but I'm gonna try because this is an interview. My aunt Mary helped my mother, who was a single mother, right? And
Mhm.
my Mary, one of the first things she said when I moved to Washington, D.C., was, "Be ye to thine own self be true, lest I be false to any man." She taught us, in addition to God's word, she taught us by the words of Rudyard Kipling. If if you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you but make allowances for their doubting too, if you can think and not make thoughts your master, if you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same, if you can bear to hear the truth you spoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or see the things you gave your life to broken and stoop and start again with worn out tools, if you can make one heap of all your earnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss, and stop and start again at your beginnings and never breathe a word about your loss, if you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve their turn long after they're gone, then the world is yours and all that's in you. And what's more, you'll be a man, my son. Now, obviously, I am not a man,
Right.
but these, I am a woman, born
Mm-hmm.
of a woman and a man. This is what was spoken and lived before me. I didn't plan to go there, but you asked the question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is what was unceremoniously lived before me from people who at one point was 9 or 10 people living in a little 2, 3 bedroom house in 1658 Carnegie Street in Memphis, Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I went and found out about my father's side, my great grandfather had the audacity to found and build a church in Mississippi in 1908. Could there have been a more racist place on planet Earth in 1908?
No.
That's what he did. And then I found out that my great great uncle, Walter Davis, had the audacity to be the president of Tennessee State University for 20 years, took it from a struggling college of agriculture and industry to a multi-million-dollar university at the time that he retired. So that's where I'm from. That's
Hmm.
who I'm from. Okay? That's my hood. Those are my peeps. Okay? Now, yes, I'm sure there was imperfection and some addictions and sin, all kinds of the conflux of the ills of humanity somewhere within there. But the dominant message, that's who shaped me.
Yeah.
So when I'm sitting up here with all these conveniences, I don't know how to do anything but because that's what was lived
Mm-hmm.
before me. And that's why I write the songs that I do. And that's why I'm still in it. Thank you very much. I'm gonna drink some water now. Get some water there. Open the door to church. If you want to come by Meadow Christian Experience,
That's right.
let them come.
The doors of the church are now open.
And I'm grateful. I mean, I speak with the passion that I do because um, I have a 23-year-old son, and most of my friends have adult children, or aunties to uncles to adult children,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know where we're going from now. The children did show that they can step up. if they're passionate enough. But we are losing our oral traditions, and I'm guilty too. We're losing our Sunday family dinners.
Yeah.
We're becoming optional. In some cases becoming church and God optional.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But don't come at me because I did not call your name. I didn't say nothing about you. I don't know your name, so don't come for me. But or a belief. I am proud to have grown up in the Baptist church from a Kojic lineage. But
Mm-hmm.
if that's not your thing, let's just say faith and that which brings us together to create tradition and ceremony. I have a great respect for that. And I pray that we get back to that and we don't just lean upon tragedy to do that for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because so much has, as much has been gained, a lot has been lost too. Because we have now the option to be able to go on the internet and be able to look up something just by the click of a button. But now, how do you get people to read again? And it's not that they're illiterate, don't get me wrong, but it's almost like everybody wants a quick fix or you give me the answer. So those kind of things are just slowly slip away from you, and you lose the head of your family, a matriarch, and the patriarchs, and that's it. The family is split up now. It's no longer coming together. It's more about the issues that we had 20 years ago, as opposed to, okay, we can have a Sunday dinner and hang out and say, all right, I'm glad to see you, look good. I'm praying for you. Have a good day. I love you.
Right.
It doesn't
Right.
take much. It doesn't take much, but I think we make things complicated because it's just a human in us.
It is even now that I've, I guess, advanced to put a title on myself as a storyteller writer, because I also had writers in the family, but I never went around saying, "Oh, I am a writer. I'm a writer." I do now because that's what you do. So that which what you're talking about now, then that's what we put in the stories. That's the conflict that makes the Tyler Perry movies so
That's
interesting.
right.
All the other films that we watch. So that's what we can do so that hopefully we can at least hold up a mirror, learn from our own shortcomings, and then have fun telling stories along the way.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't realize too that storytelling is one of the biggest things in the world today. Whether it's through film or anything else. But the reason that we look at Tyler Perry films and all these other things, regardless of the negative feedback that it gets, is because it resonates with something inside of you. It has to, for you to be able to say, oh, okay, this is interesting. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's your family or not, or even if it's somebody that grew up down the street from you, or whatever the case may be, it's something that you've seen or something that you are involved in, and that's why they gravitate to that stuff. I know because it's happened to me.
Let me
So
ask you a question. You've been asking me and talking about me. Thank you, but I'm honored. I'm gratefully honored to be in your presence. Who inspired you, or what inspired you to take on this mantle and to keep it and to continue to thrive?
wow, you know what? I don't know if there's one person, but when I really think about all of the So for me, I wanted to be in entertainment when I was like 13 years old. I wanted to be an actor, right? So I went to an audition one time for like a Disney Channel thing, and we went to this acting studio for John Roberts, I think, or something like that. Um, and the people said, okay, he did good, and he passed everything, but you'll have to pay this money to go to the acting classes, and then you go on to the next thing or whatever. So my parents didn't have money, so I was like, oh no. So I let that go. So years later, I think probably like 3 years later, when I was 16, I was watching. Me and my cousin at the time, we would like watch different shows and reality shows and stuff like that. And she would watch a lot of these people on YouTube that I had no idea about. And she would tell me about them, and she would say, these two right here, or this person right here, they were talking about this, or they were doing that, or whatever, because a lot of people were on YouTube just talking to them. And I didn't know a lot about those people because I didn't watch them. I wasn't even on YouTube like that, besides watching a music video and moving on. But from her telling me about different people, I would go and watch it. And I would say, okay, they're doing this and they're doing this. And then I said, you know what? we could do something like this. And we started doing videos, and we
Hmm.
started doing like reviews of different shows. And I said, you know what? I said, something greater is supposed to happen. I don't know what it is, but something greater is supposed to happen. I said, okay, well, let's try to do interviews, and um, and the first interview that we got, I didn't know how to send an email. I didn't know how to do anything. The email was not long. It was probably a couple of words. It wasn't professional. It wasn't anything. But it was the comedian Leslie Jones. And
Wow. How about
yeah, yeah, Leslie. For people who don't know who will see this, but Leslie is on was just on Saturday Night Live for a good while. In the Ghostbusters movie remake, all that stuff. She hosted the BET Awards, all that stuff. So she's done a lot of stuff. But that was the first interview that we ever did. It was via Skype. We did the interview. She was fun. She was cool. Um, and we started doing more after that. And I was like,
wow?
okay, so this is it. This is what I, wanted to do. Talking to people that I actually like and I grew up on really. So after that, it kind of picked up. And Leslie ended up calling, matter of fact, before she went to Saturday Night Live. And she said, "Hey," and I didn't even think she even remembered us, but it was probably like a year after we did our interview, maybe. And she said, "I want to give you guys the exclusive. I'm going to go out to audition for Saturday Night Live. They're looking for a female cast member." And I said, "Okay, cool." So we did the interview, and I said, "You got this. I believe in you. You're going to take off everything." And she went and did that audition, and she literally took off. So it has been a great joy to see people like that, especially working hard and putting in the work. That's what I love to see. And then after that, I just took interest in people who don't, always get the shine or the recognition they deserve. And I said, okay, let me find these people because the knowns will get TV spots or interviews or whatever. I said, so let me call on these people who somebody else is probably not calling on, and let them tell their story.
And you're very good at it. The pseudos. That's my
That's
word.
right.
I'm calling that. That's my word now. I'm gonna copyright that word. The pseudo celebrities. So
There
I'm
you
just
go.
saying it about me. I'm not talking about anybody else. But you're very, very good. I mean, I feel very comfortable. It feels like you've been doing this for years. It feels like you went to school for this, and I'm grateful that you followed your vision. So,
Yeah,
hey,
yeah.
yay,
I
you.
have to, because I put it down uh, uh, for a while because me and my cousin actually split because things, they happen. That's the simple version.
Oh, we know. I know what that means. Yeah.
Right, there you go. So they happen. So after that, I was like, I built all this stuff. I built all this momentum. We worked so hard, and it's gone. So then I said, no, it's time to start over. So I built everything over again in my own name, and I did it like that, and I enjoyed it ever since. Though it might have been hard from time to time, but it's something that really sits within me, so I can't let it go. I have to, even if I put it on ice for a little bit, I have to come right back and say, nope, let's go.
Yeah. But you know what, Tony? That's what I love about history because many times you'll feel like it's just you.
Right.
Oh, that's just me. Throughout history, partnerships have undergone changes. Some partnerships have survived. Some partnerships have resulted in the partners going their separate ways to form individual companies. In
Hmm.
some cases, one partner will completely leave the business and do something else. So that's another part of where the inspiration comes from. History can teach you that most of the time it's not just you, no matter what it is. So
Yeah, yeah.
go on.
But you know what? I was thankful to God after that situation because me being the person that I am, I always try to push people to be their best, but I don't push myself all the time. And God was just showing me in that moment, like, you don't need a crush to stand on. You can stand on your own. I gave you everything that you possibly need. Why aren't you using it? And so I was like, you know what, Lord? Okay, I'm listening. I
Good.
got it. I got it. I'm going to do it. It's all right.
Well, I'm
So
glad that you did.
yeah, yeah. I'm thankful for people like you, always. and forever. I talked to the actress Deborah Lacey, and Deborah was in the Five Heartbeats. For people who don't know, she played JT's girlfriend. And Deborah said, you called on me, and I'm thankful because I'm not a celebrity. And I said, I laughed, but I said, you are to me. I don't care what anybody say, but at the end of the day, you are to me. It's not about necessarily being in the biggest movie or having the most money, but your body of work says something for you.
Yes, and
And
she's a sweet lady too, Deborah.
yeah,
And I was coming up to Hollywood with Deborah, she booked everything. So
yeah. One of the most sweetest people and genuine people I have ever spoken to during this whole time, I promise you. And I come across some good people, don't get me wrong, but she has been one of the most sweetest, so much so that when we talked about Robert Townsend, and she just started remembering and thinking about that stuff, and she started crying, and I was like, it really is somebody who is real to do this, which I appreciate her for being that, because a lot of people are like, I'm on an interview, I'm gonna, act this way or do this, and it's like, no, I want you to feel like you're having a conversation, because I always tell people I'm not giving you a job, so it's not necessarily an interview, but we're having a conversation. I like to put it like that. But it's people like that that make me say, okay, this is what I'm here for.
well, you allow us to bring another part of our truth um, to the forefront because I did tell you how I really felt about that unsung show, but I'm getting ready to tell you right now.
Go ahead, go ahead.
So, with all due respect to the
Hmm.
Unsung brand and everyone who has been profiled on Unsung, I just have a different perspective because to me, when I see Unsung, these are the people who were sung.
Right.
These were the people who had a chance to get out there. These are the people who had a chance to get the record deal and to be in on television and to do the movies. Now, along the way, some things may have happened to keep them from going further. But when I
Hmm.
think about the real unsung, then yeah, it would be like the Deborah Lacey's or like my really good friend Wendy Moten, who's a phenomenal vocalist. Some people know her, but not enough. Or our friend Tori Pride. So, um, but the other part of it is that this is the other part of Hollywood that you don't always hear about because everybody did not go down a path that ultimately destroyed them. Everybody wasn't necessarily steeped in environments where it was cutthroat and people were against them. Some of us were in environments that cultivated and loved and supported one another. Now that
That's
doesn't
right.
make good television.
That's
That
right.
makes for great drama. I get it. I get it. But yes, if you are looking at this and you're thinking of, joining our industry, coming to Hollywood, coming to Florida, New York, or whatever, don't be deterred just by what you see on television because, God's got good people everywhere. And you may find some scrubs along the way. I'm not denying that the other element is not there. But yeah, there's a part of the story where people who do love one another and help support each other and help build each other up.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
absolutely.
my unsung story.
Absolutely. But that's true. That's true. And I just told somebody this, I just told a bunch of people that the other day, uh, or a couple of weeks ago at somebody's funeral that, you know, you don't really understand that when God puts something inside of you, that's really a purpose, no matter what, he will send somebody your way, if you're not on the right track to knock you right back on and say, okay, here's a helping hand, or here's something that you need to keep going, or whatever the case might be. um,
Right.
you know, but sometimes we look at the whole thing and the whole picture and say, I don't know how I'm going to do this. This is too much, and this is too big, and this is too, and it's not about that. It's about making the step, because then he comes in and helps you along the way. And I think we don't realize that all the time. We get worried about what somebody else is saying and what their journey was, and who they talk to, and it's not always that. So it really is important to be able to be in tune with what you are supposed to do, because your story is not somebody else's story.
That's
I,
true.
and
And
I
if it changes, if it changes along the way, then it's okay. Go for it. You said something else that I admire and I actually have lived by. I don't even know if you know what you said. And what you did say was that when you started, you didn't know everything that you were supposed to do. You did it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I did with my first book, Dictation, Plays, Poems, and Monologues. I didn't know what I was doing, but I did it anyway. I made mistakes. The book came out with mistakes in it. But I read a book on how to self-publish, and the author of that book said, "You're going to make mistakes." So that didn't mean that I was proud that I made mistakes or proud that I overlooked mistakes, but it took the fear away of me not starting, not doing anything for fear that I would mess it up, make mistakes, or somebody would talk about me. Well, chances are that's happening anyway.
That's right.
It's happening with a book out.
That's right.
And the next one got better, and the next one got better after that. So, and look who you got for your first. Oh my gosh. So now you can always call on her. Hopefully, she'll continue to remember you and,
Yeah.
keep
Yeah.
going.
And it's a lot of those people, that I've interviewed and I still have. And that's something that I try to focus on now is building actual relationships with people because it's so easy to say, "Hey, how you doing? I'm glad to see you. All right, bye." And it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I don't want things to be so transactional because it's genuine in what I'm saying. So I don't want you to feel like, oh, okay, yeah, I just did this to promote this or
Right.
whatever,
Right.
promote it.
Right.
I'm glad that you did, but I don't, that's not the whole thing. So I'm really focused on that now, and people don't understand and don't even know. I think this is probably the first time they ever said this, but when I first started out, I was in the midst of a depression, like literally very, very bad. Like I was in high school at that time. I didn't even want to go to school. That's how bad it was. And there was a very dark days for me. So much so that it was like being in the midst of a storm is what it was. A lot of people don't know what that is or what that's like, but a lot of people use the word depression a lot, like, oh yeah, I'm in a, but it's not real. You probably just feel sad, and that's not always depression. But when I woke up in the morning, I didn't even have thoughts anymore because my head or my mind was just saying, kill yourself. That's what it would say over and over, like a record. But me saying, no, I know God is real, I know this is not right. I know, this is the thing to do. So I would have to literally fight against myself every day until that, period went over. But the only thing that was keeping me was me being able to do those interviews. Uh, and nobody ever knew.
Wow.
Nobody ever knew. Even the kids in school, they never knew. When I would go to school, they would be like, "Oh, you barely come to school. You finally here." And I'm like, if only you knew what I was going through. Like, but I never told anybody. And on those interviews, I would smile, I would laugh, I would do everything because don't get me wrong, I was genuinely happy in those moments. But when I went home, it was back to normal. So those interviews were literally, in a way, saving my life. And I'm thankful for that because to see where I'm at now and to see the responses that I get now, because when I first started out, some people were like, "Oh, okay, yeah, whatever." But
Yeah.
now it's like, "How are you doing that? How did you get that person?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I am so impressed, and I just encourage you along your path. As if people don't look at, some people don't look at mental health as being a part of like truly health, and
Mm-hmm.
you have to, it's different for everybody. For some, you can just kick it and go, okay, I'm fine. But some, you have to maintain it with consistent, interventions. So I just encourage you, if you ever need any assistance in getting to the right types of interventions, just please reach out and I will seek out my resources to support you in that, because we want you here and happy and healthy and continue to do what you love and
Yeah.
thrive in the life that you live.
Yeah. let me say, I'm thankful. I'm very grateful and I'm very thankful to God. Um, because everybody doesn't have the strong mind that I have. Everybody didn't grow up the way that I did, and it's so easy to fall into that trap and say, okay, it's time to end it all. But I was not built like that. I was not raised like that. So it wasn't, the thing for me to do. And when it was, well, the storm was over, um, I just really thanked God for what He did and for bringing me out and for being able to tell somebody about it, because you never know who you can help.
Mm-hmm.
And I might have a day here or there, but it's never about killing myself. It might just be I'm down, but
That's
I
right.
don't have those days anymore. So I'm thankful. And
Good.
I'm still here. I'm still able to talk to somebody and tell somebody, hey, you can make it too. And
Good.
that's what I'm most proud of right now, along with doing these interviews.
See,
So
you're a champion. Look at you being a star. Look at you being a star to me and everybody else. Look at you now. Look at you.
listen, we all are in our own ways. I think if not only Black people but all people realize that we're all much more alike than we are different,
That's true.
we could come together a whole lot more, as opposed to worrying about who's getting what and how this is happening, and that's what causes separation. And
Yeah.
we don't get that because we get caught up in it.
Yeah.
So I'm always trying to see how I'm alike with somebody, and coming to a common ground, as opposed to saying, oh, you got puffy hair, I got short hair, and I can't talk to you, or we're not alike.
Mhm.
No, we're very common. Trust me, your ancestors are probably some of my ancestors, so
True. That's true. True that.
never know. You
Uh-huh.
never know. But I wanted to talk about your books though. This one that you have back here. Where can people purchase this, and what's the name again?
Yeah, so it's two back there. I would get up, but I don't, I got on all of my clothes, but I don't really know what that full body. I put some lotion on, but anyway, okay. Your question was, so yes, I'm very proud continue to share the good news about on my father's side, a true and miraculous story about a father, a daughter, and their 40-year journey to reunite. How many are listening to this interview right now and your situation is complicated? It says complicated. Who came from, oh, it's complicated. Well, mine was
Mm-hmm.
complicated. Mine wasn't big complicated, but it was little complicated, but it was still complicated.
Right.
I found out that I was among millions of people who grow up with a missing parent and not knowing why. And
Mm-hmm.
this is without judgment. Again, underscore. Nobody's judging you. Nobody's judging your mama, your daddy, or anything about your situation. I'm only stating that the fact remains that many of us are living here in these bodies of ours because we came from parental situations that were, at the very least, complicated.
Mm-hmm.
So after I found my father and I found out the story and what happened, and I was encouraged to write a book to encourage others who may have mama issues and daddy issues. And some startling revelations came out of it. Some game changing concepts and revelations came out of writing that book that could help you, especially if Tony, you told me about what you were going through that nobody else knew.
Mm-hmm.
If you are a grown man or a grown woman and deep down inside you're still carrying that much of that unresolved situation with your mother and father, then I believe there's something that's in that book that can help you. Barnes and Noble, Amazon, wherever books are sold online. The other book are The Brand Beside the Brand. 10
Right.
Reasons to Step from Behind and Stand Beside the Brand. That book is for you if you are, I don't want to say struggling, but if you
Mm-hmm.
are surveying, if you're contemplating how to tell your business story, if you work for a company for 10, 20, 30 years, now you're doing your own thing and you don't have a clue. How do I do it? Where do I start? That book is for you. If you got your side hustle and you want to know how do I get people to like my products and know who I am, that will help you tell your business story authentically. Because let's face it, We live in a digital age where everybody's got one of these. Everybody, almost everybody you know has got one of these.
That's right.
So you can't afford to just think in traditional ways. But if you're somebody who's not comfortable like this all the time, here I am, here go my sandwich, okay, here go my, I'm finna drink some water. Ooh. If that's
Right.
not you, but you know you have to market in social media and you want to find a way to be present authentically,
Hmm.
that book is for you. Now, if authentically you don't mind being that person, that's a beautiful thing too. So, and then the other book, plays, poems, and monologues, please come straight to me, LaRitaShelby.com, to buy that book. Somebody is selling that book online. It's not me that has hiked the price up to like something crazy.
Wow.
I love myself, but that book, I'm not charging $600 for that book. Call me
Look,
up,
somebody is
50,
getting some money.
550. I'm just kidding. No, but if you want some good plays and poems and monologues just for enjoyment or to study your craft, go directly to my website or email and I'll get you a copy, for little or nothing. It's a collector's item. I'm going to be re-releasing the book. And one other thing that I did not talk about, here, right here. So from writing the book and the movie on my father's side, let's see, I can hold this up. It's not going to mirror, it appears backwards. So, but anyway, I don't know how to. So, I produced a short film called Dad Speak. And
Okay.
this is for the fathers. Let me say this is for the fathers, for the divorcees, and for the baby mamas. The baby
Hmm.
mama and the baby daddies. Tony, I didn't know how many people were affected by this mama, daddy, child thing until I came forward with my story. I had mainly grown men who would lean in and say, wow, you found your dad, I got a child out there and I wonder, I wonder where he is, or I wonder where she is, or I got
Hmm.
a kid and I love him, but mama won't let me see him, or I got a kid, but I messed up and now I the fathers that were hurting,
Yeah.
really hurting and in the trenches. So I did this movie, Dad Speak, for them to give them a chance to say what they have to say. That movie is streaming on the Be Herc network, BHERC.TV. BHERC stands for Black Hollywood Education and Resource Center, BHERC.TV, and look for the movie Dad Speak. And you
Hmm.
have three men, strong, accomplished men, who are telling their stories from the heart. And this is to encourage children who don't know where your daddy is. And the main point of this movie is to show that all absent fathers are not created equal.
Okay. That makes sense.
Can I keep it? Can I keep it 100? There,
Keep it
there's,
100.
there's some mamas who should not have ever been mamas. There are
Hmm.
some daddies who should not have never been daddies. We're not
Hmm.
talking about them. We're talking about those who have fallen into very contentious and complicated situations, and in the middle is a child wondering where their daddy is. So,
Yeah.
Dad, sorry it's not mirrored because I don't know how to do that with my camera. But it says if you're dyslexic, then you can read it. It's backwards. Dad speak. I don't know how to do it the other way.
That's
But that
okay. It's your show.
that was a little humor with love. A little humor with love. I'll make fun of myself because I
There
can't.
you go. No, but I think that's awesome. Honestly, um, we don't really realize, and one of the reasons I started watching The Younger, because we don't realize how that stuff affects you, and a lot of people tuck that away, and you just keep moving, and then years later it shows up somewhere. You know, in a matter of fact, going back to what I was saying earlier, in the midst of that depression situation, my parents had gotten a divorce. And my father had been in my life that whole time up until I was like 13. And when he and my mother divorced, it was like a whirlwind to me because I was so used to that, you know. And I would see kids in school say, my dad this or my mom this, and they would say they didn't know their dads, or they didn't have a dad. And I'm like, oh my, my parents are married. I don't, I never seen that before. But it came a time where I had to be like, wait a minute, because now mine is absent in a way, and it's not that he died or anything, but it's just that the separation happened. So I'm like, okay, what's happening? So that caused, like I said, a separation and some tension for a while. We spoke on it, since then, and we've got some clarity since then. But it caused us to never be the same, honestly. But I just, in the end, said, hey, let's call it what it is. Let's make amends and let's move on, because I just wanted somebody to say, hey, I'm sorry, from both of my parents at that time. But my father, I was kind of hurt by, because I'm like, we were like twins and close while I was growing up. And when you get in these teenage years, it's like, now you're gone. So I kind of understood some of those people then, and I was like, wow, I never thought it would be me, which is why you never speak about people's situation. So
Goodness, see, even that, I mean, gosh, I may have to do Dad Speak part two, three, four, and
yeah,
five.
yeah,
Who knew? I mean, we've been talking for an hour now. I didn't know, but that was a part of your story. And
yeah,
I'm passionate about the fathers because, you know, when now this may be a sexist comment. I don't mean it offensively. Generally, it feels like women, we gonna talk. We gonna talk to, so we gonna talk to our girlfriends, our auntie. We gonna talk. We gonna talk to the beauty, the cosmetologist. We even talk to the nail ladies. She won't understand you, but we'll talk. We'll get it out. But men tend to internalize it, and some women do too, in all fairness. So just by the telling of that, it has it has been a catalyst for other men to speak up. Let's face it, none of us are perfect. None of us
yeah,
asked to get here. We don't know who we're going to get. Children don't know who they're going to get as parents. We don't know who we're going to get as children. But it happens. Life happens. But the communication is the beginning of healing. The good
mhm.
book says, and all thy getting, get an understanding. So thank you for even sharing what you shared, because hopefully that'll stimulate some other father or some other child to at least think differently. And that's what I put in my book. I'm pro fathers, but I'm lifting up mothers. When we did the screening of Dad Speak, one of the mothers spoke up, and she had been divorced for a very long time.
Mhm.
And she said that that movie even helped her understand what her ex might have been feeling when he was sad, when he was distant, when he was angry. So please join us and help us spread the word on everything that we've discussed, the books, the music, and
Yeah,
the movies. And there's more movies that'll be coming. So,
yeah. I just want to ask one last thing as far as music is concerned. I know you put out an album before, A Date with the Song. So are you intending on putting out any more EPs or albums? I know you released the singles last year, but are you
yeah.
intending on doing a full-fledged project again?
I'm so impressed because you are on top of it. I could probably quiz some family members who couldn't like answer two questions. You are on it, sir. Um, my heart's desire is to produce and release another album by the end of the year. But as I said, being the whole record company right now, I'm self-funded. So I will say, if there are angel donors who are so moved to encourage the forthcoming of new music, I welcome it. But it's on my heart and mind to do so by the end of the year, because I just can't keep ignoring it. I get asked time and time again, so I feel like that's God's way to say, just
That's
just
right.
keep going. So be on the lookout and the listen out.
Yeah, okay. Sounds good. Well, before I let you go, just let everybody know where they can find you on social media and your website again.
Great. So my website is LaRitaShelby.com. That's LA Shelby.com. Also, JazzyRita.com should work. It should go take you there. JazzyRita.com. On Facebook, LaRita Jazzy Rita Shelby is the page where I can get some new friends. And then I also have a page called On My Father's Side. If you are a dad who's actually like a okay, if you are a dad who happened to sit through this long interview, y'all know why I'm a sports center, well, whatever. If you are a father, you're still with us this long on the interview, then look for me On My Father's Side on Facebook. On My Father's Side, introduce yourself, tell your story. Um, and anybody that wants to join the cause, I am seeking team members. Right now, team member volunteers who just want to be passionate about helping to share and spread the good news. Everybody right now is sharing something on their phone. I
Yeah.
also want to teach people, it's kind of sad but true, to teach people that, charity begins at home. I've had business people who don't have big marketing and promotional budgets, and I'm like, yeah, but we all have family members who are on the phone right now.
Mm-hmm.
They're sharing everything but something that their family is doing. That's
Yeah.
that's true. So if you want to be a part of my creative family, I welcome it. I welcome you, and let's keep the good news going.
That's right. That's right. Well, listen, I just got to thank you, Miss Larita. I am truly grateful for you today. Um, I don't know if you know what you have done for me today, but just know that I am very grateful for you. When I get off this video, I am going to thank God again.
Oh, you know what? Oh, so you, boy, you gonna make me use these tissues. I almost used them a few minutes ago because I was hot because I am a certain age. But anyway, you're not gonna get no Oprah Winfrey Tito tissues out of me today. But
No, don't do it. Don't do it.
thank you. I'm merely a reflection of you, sir. So let's stay connected. Thank you. How did you hear about or find like how did I end up here today?
Um, I think no. You know what? I was just looking. I always start browsing for stuff, and I always go and look at older movies or shows or whatever the case may be. And then I came up on South Central. And then I was like, I wonder where Glenn Plummer is at, and I wonder where this person is at. And then I seen your name, and I said, let me go and find her. And
Mm,
so when I did find you and I saw you was doing music, I was like, oh, okay, this is wonderful. Like this is exactly what I need.
mm.
So I had
Thank
I was thankful that you had an Instagram page because a lot of people don't have anything, and I'm like, oh Lord.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah, I was encouraged to get an Instagram page. Okay. So I'm gonna do something really special for you. I don't know exactly what, but you have blessed me beyond measure as well by being who you are. And I truly mean that.
Yeah, yeah. Listen, it is definitely reciprocated, and vice versa. It's not every day that I have these kind of talks with people that come on here. So I know it has to be God, and I know it has to be something special thrown in the midst because I don't even write these questions down. Matter of fact, I go with what's going on, because I don't believe in being manufactured. I don't believe in being fake with anybody. It is what it is, and today was very organic, and I appreciate that. So you
But
you've
thank
done
you.
you've done more than enough today, and I truly thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a beautiful day and a beautiful life. Keep on shining.
All right, I'll talk to you soon then.
Okay. Toodaloo.